Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, yeah, fucking.
And what are you doing?
The other one.
There's a couple of announcements. This Sunday, 22nd March 2026, we will be having our Island Champs, the third edition of our Island Champs. This is a very good opportunity for us to all come together in honor of Julian Alfred, who she is, and in the search for our next Julian Alfred from our school system. It is scheduled for the Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds. It should be very, very exciting. Some of the fastest athletes in St. Lucia will be on display. We're expecting a record number of people to be there, considering that it's on the weekend. It's a nice line for everybody in the communities from Viewfort all the way to Grosley. We are certainly hoping to see a CPL style atmosphere at the Darren Simon this coming Sunday. We are starting from 1 o'clock with match pass of the teams, and of course we'll be having the start shortly after. We do have, like I said, all the CPL infrastructure in terms of a VIP area. We'll have the VIP area available to the public for purchase, $150. If people decide and parents decide to be in a VIP area, it's all inclusive. It's a nice little package. And of course, we will be having the corporate booths available. The corporate sector is invited to take advantage of our reduced price. That is $2,000 for the usage of that corporate box. We will have obviously the usual corporate boxes available for those who normally rent during CPL. Admission is $10. And of course, we're asking that $10 as a contribution towards the event. Obviously, there were so many conversations about the price of admission, but we decided to really lower it to get all family, all friends, and we're expecting all individuals from the secondary school setup to be out in support of our young people. We hosted the event twice in Soufrière, and we decided that the third edition, we will bring it up north in anticipation of works commencing at the George Orwell Stadium later this year, and an eventual move back to the south of our Island Champs. We will be providing transportation from Castries straight to the Darren Sammy, and that will be $5. We will be making sure that people can identify the buses that will be on the Grosley bus stop that will take them directly to the Darren Sammy. And of course, we will be having buses at the junction near the fire station in the Massac Grosley to take people to Beauséjour. That would be $1.75. And then, for sure, these buses will be designated. We'll also be having a designated area for after. We know we've had some situations where after cricket, people are stranded and not be able to get back into Castries, and as they are walking, we will be having a designated area identified for those buses with a sticker to provide transportation back to Castries and of course back to Grosley for other individuals. So we are looking forward to it. We have additional performances, Ezra the Fun Machine, Imran Nudi, and of course for the parents. I don't want to say for the parents because Alpha is really for everybody, but historically he's been a soca monarch, a groovy monarch, and somebody that really brings on the nostalgia of our music industry, where he will be performing as well. So very good atmosphere expected for Island Champs 2026. Also, we have been onto another topic, drag racing. We've had a lot of discussion at Cabinet as it pertains to drag racing in St. Lucia. We've done a lot of work in our alternative sports program. You've seen a lot of facility development in the traditional sports in terms of the Francis Babalastic grounds. We did work at Darren Sammy. We are doing work on facilities around the island. And we did make mention in our manifesto that we will be establishing a drag racing track in the south. The cabinet has been discussing the dynamics of that, and we will be commencing work very soon on a drag racing track in the south. That is to ensure that obviously we can have a proper venue, a better venue come December 13th as we start another season in the alternative sport. And of course, next year we can have a better independent drag competition. Over the last week in education, we continue to host meetings as we transition as a new minister into the ministry. We held meetings with TVET last week. We really, as a government, we are very committed to ensuring that individual students are given the opportunity to study, to pursue what is intrinsic to them, to pursue what they love. And so we've continued the discussions as we continue the transformation. We've been having conversation about the various TVET institutions on the island and how it is that we can augment efforts and to make it even better as we continue to provide that service to our young people. We also had a very, very good meeting with the district councillors. The Prime Minister have indicated that we will be making continued investments in counseling. We believe the psychosocial aspect of the student has to be given additional attention. And in the coming budget, the Prime Minister will be making some more pronouncements on district counseling and providing that service to as many students as possible in our inner communities. Questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah. First question, just on the Island Champs venue change. Was that also done in an effort to sort of, I guess, curtail some of the issues persons would have had with the Soufrière venue? I know there were some concerns that we may have possibly outgrown that venue. So just, was that another reason?
We definitely outgrew that venue. We are having continued discussions. The parliamentary rep for Soufrière, she's been lobbying for additional studies on that Soufrière mini stadium, and we are continuing the discussion in terms of the plans, exactly the whole structure, how we're going to actually put it together. But the fact of the matter remains that even if we had that structure, we would have still outgrown Soufrière as a venue for Island Champs, especially on the weekend. So considering that we've hosted it there twice, and we are continuing in terms of the design for the George Island Stadium and some of the dynamics we are putting in place after we totally come out from the George Island Stadium and into St. Jude, we felt that it was necessary for us to go to a place that was more comfortable for everybody. It's more comfortable for the athletes in terms of a warm-up area, for the officials, and of course the patrons. We are looking forward to having as many parents and supporters of track and field and sport in St. Lucia at the Darren Samley come Sunday.
Okay, just shifting gears a little bit. I know the past couple of weeks there's been a lot happening in sport and education, but on the education front, CXC would have reported some successes in sort of the pilot of the hybrid system for CXC, and they said coming out of that, they have even more confidence in more so implementing the digital iteration of these exams in future sittings. Just your thoughts on that, as you know, with your portfolios of both education and digital transformation. What do you think of those declarations by CXC?
Well, definitely the Prime Minister in his wisdom decided that he was going to put me into digital transformation along with Minister Butcher. And of course, we've really joined our efforts in terms of brainstorming and how it is that we can do that. And when I became minister, I think the first thing I asked for is pretty much cost. What is the costing needed for us to institute a comprehensive digital transformation of our education sector? We have some schools in this island that have computers, as you can very well imagine, that have been there for the last 10 years. In some instances, 12 years, that need replacements and that sort of stuff. So we are in the process of pretty much putting the dollar amount towards what we need. In addition to that, we've started conversation with our partners, our global partners, on really making contributions beyond just the laptop program, but, continued investments into the smart classrooms and, of course, more devices, modern devices for all our schools. That will definitely allow us to work in concert with funding institutions such as CXC to ensure that we can comfortably guide the next generation into that multi-faceted approach to examinations. I feel very confident that we are going to be making tremendous strides in digital transformation. I think we have a very good team at the Ministry of Education, and I think the joining of the minds between Danny and myself, we've already started a conversation, and we're excited about ensuring that we have classrooms that are not just smart classrooms, but they are further equipped around the island to ensure that we see the effects of digital transformation and the use of AI and other technologies in our school and education system.
Yes, Minister, we know that sports tourism no doubt has been playing its part in the economic development of the nation. Post the total movement of St. Jude's from the George Odlum Stadium, can we expect a redeveloped George Odlum Stadium into what many have been positing for in respect to athletics development and an investment in some sort of academy for the development of athletics on the island of St. Lucia?
Yes, very interesting that you would bring that up. We've been having some very, very deep conversation with international funders and bodies as it pertains to track and field in particular in developing a high-performance track and field program in St. Lucia. That would definitely require us to have a venue where the population center is, which is between, we know the numbers, between Castries and Rosalie, like 90,000 people living. So we have to identify an area for a 400-meter track within that particular locality. So we are looking into that heavily. George Odlum, I'm very confident that we will be having a state-of-the-art facility once we start this work, considering we have the Arab government already coming on board to help us with the financing. The designs would definitely be aimed at modernizing, similar to what we did at Darren Sammy at George Odlum Stadium. So it would be actually better than what we previously had, better surface for sprinting and of course running, and better facilities all the way around. So that would provide us with 3 venues that I hope by the end of this term we'll have one in the north, one in Vieux-Fort and one in Soufrière, which would mean whoever picks up after this tour as a Minister of Sport, he would have only one responsibility in terms of track and field, find an area to lay a 400-meter track on the East Coast. This is the vision. This would definitely allow us to identify all of our talents in terms of sprinting, in terms of running, jumping, athletics, and to provide a comprehensive high-performance program similar to what we have in cricket, so we can really continue to push the athletics agenda in this country.
Minister, final question from me. That's posited in line of your constituency. We saw action by Marcellus Backsteed recently in respect of the Red Hewitt Beach and the removal of a temporary fence in there. Any comments as it relates to this and the action taken by the individual?
Well, for me as an MP, I think in development has a lot of, it's multifaceted. You meet individuals from all walks of life. I mean, Backs, as we call him, is an individual that I know for a very long time. An interested individual. We've had a lot of deep conversations about sports development in St. Lucia. I think generally he comes from a good place. You cannot read a man's heart for sure, but generally the conversations we've had, especially about basketball, he's one of those who sourced basketball rims from the US and has brought it down in St. Lucia for us to further our basketball program. So generally, individuals have their different methodologies. They see things differently. When you have a constituency that is the fastest developing in the entire OACS, I know some people are from Dominica, don't like to hear that, but the fastest developing constituency in all of the OACS, bar none. You have different individuals that see the development of that constituency slightly differently. I'm somebody who like to ensure that people are encouraged to express themselves. Once they do it within the ambits of the law, once they don't cross that boundary, I would have no issues with it. But what you're seeing in the constituency is just a mammoth amount of development along our shores, the infrastructure, the people. And as a parliamentarian, I really encourage free speech, free expression of thought, and I pretty much sometimes have a little chuckle because these are new problems that other MPs around the USS would want. But and I think at the end of the day, I don't necessarily think it's coming from a negative place. But again, you can't read a man's heart.
Good afternoon, Minister. So just 2 questions in terms of from me. I know a little earlier you said about the opening of the new drag race down, especially within the South, and with alternative sports becoming a big highlight, especially with drag racing. What else can we expect in St. Lucia in terms of more alternative sports actually coming forefront right now?
Yeah.
What can we expect?
Remember when the member from St. Lucia Times used to ask those questions? He's moved on to that is a very good question, my brother. We as a ministry, with Craig Gustav, the Cabinet Secretary, because the Director Clivers, we are always, sometimes I feel like we are a ministry that doesn't sleep. Our mind is always going, what can we do next? What can we do next? What can we do next? And this is the energy we bring to sports in all facets. You can look forward to the aspect of alternative sports and the virtual gaming being something that is huge, getting a huge investment this year. We've identified a location for the Gaming Association. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, online gaming, and so we are going to be expanding. We've identified an area at the Minderford Park for us to put a state-of-the-art modern gaming room there. So we would see the competitions in gaming that a lot of the times ties in with what's happening in sports tourism. People coming in to have those little competitions. You can expect to see some works on that. You let me put the cat out of the bag, considering we have a budget debate very soon. But this is one of the industries that we are going to be really focusing on. Also combat sports. We've seen some really good investment of time by individuals in various combat sports, and we are certainly expected to have more of an expose next alternative sports season from the different aspects of combat sports. So I've had some meetings, I've dropped some highlights of some of what's happening within the combat sports sector, and we are going to be identifying a location for that as well in the next financial year. So there's a lot to look out for. The St. Lucia Chess Federation continue to hit above their weight. They have been expanding more and more in terms of the membership of individuals playing chess on this island, and we are looking to see more and more expansion of that particular sector as well.
Okay. All right. And secondly, from me, after speaking with Mr. Gajada on the update of the Vesikwe Road, any updates we can see on the starting of the Sir Julian R. Hunt Highway, any plans in terms of going forward with the rehabilitation?
So I'm very happy, first and foremost, that Lucelec and the contractor, they've reached an agreement, and that we are going to see some additional speed rate in terms of the execution of that VSCP road. The next phase will be from Monjuro into Grosley, the gap next to the Grosley police station, the state-of-the-art modern headquarters for police in St. Lucia and the region. We're expecting, I don't have a start date, but I can say to you we've done the relevant consultation. And I want to say a little bit about that, because when we had the beginning of under the previous administration, there was a little consultation. But last December, I walked into a meeting at Bay Gardens, and members from the intelligent members from Raydree and Rodney Bay were giving their feedback. We presented to them the total plans, and we told them about the inconvenience and some of what we are doing in terms of the walkovers. You're going to see the plans in the budget. Elevator pretty much provided there for people of disabilities to come across by Rodney Bay and of course by Kilago and some of the other areas. Very good plans. I would like to say very quickly that there's going to be massive inconveniences no matter what. And even then, when it's executed, you will have things that you've never seen in St. Lucia before. On that particular level, in terms of having to go around a roundabout that is further than where you could be in terms of just turning. You used to just turning left right now. After the completion of these works, you may have to go further and come around a roundabout and come back. But these are things that you see in the first world. And so we are expecting that people will complain, but in terms of the finished product, we'll definitely see huge development up north in terms of the fluency with which you can get in and around the most populous constituency in the region. So I feel very confident that we are going to start during this budget period. It's going to take some time. It's going to be inconvenient, but it is necessary for the further development of our country, and it's going to increase productivity at a very high level.
Alternative sports, quite exciting, it sounds. How do you, again, always my type of question, how do you rationalize the advent of noise pollution with regards to that aspect of things, and also your drag racing with respect to what's happening on the roads?
Well, the plan has always been to establish an association, and this is how sport has developed. You know that from, the Football Association, the St. Lucia Football Association, the St. Lucia Cricket Association. What we've attempted to do is really formalize the drag racing in a St. Lucia Drag Racing Association, so as to ensure that with that establishment, we can have a formal structure for how we institute racing in St. Lucia. It is happening. It has been happening for years. What we are trying to do right now is to bring them together and make sure it's done responsibly. That is why it's so critical that we establish that venue this year so they can go there and practice proper driving as it pertains to the actual competition aspect of it, and institute programs. That is going to be a huge mandate that me as a minister and a PS will be looking out for. Government is investing in the sport. You need to meet us halfway by investing in the programs, instituting the programs of safe driving, the ills of reckless driving on our roads, and really going to the schools and the different areas where people actually are interested in that sport that is a multi-million-dollar sport, by the way, in the region, to make sure that you can pass it over. So we have more responsible driving, and we're expecting to do the same with motor sports as well in terms of Moto X, which pretty much provides more of noise pollution than actual drag racing. So we're definitely going to look forward to the establishment of that venue and ensuring that we encourage the programs for safer driving on our streets by all young.
Same vein, how do you manage then the how do you manage those vehicles that are drag racing ready on our streets? How do you manage, because now we do have an issue, so says a few people, that in respect of the music part of it, those cars that are meant for the entertainment and competition part of it are actually on the streets, on the roads, on the beach, in neighborhoods, competing.
All right. So, noise pollution legislation. Right now, we had to send it back to get further review. We're only getting the opinions because we have the legislation ready. And we published it in the Gazette for us to get some feedback on the decibel levels. So that legislation is there. It's going to be passed at some point this year, because like I said, the opinions are starting to come in now. We've had identified decibel levels for different areas in St. Lucia, so different establishments in St. Lucia as well. So once that legislation is passed, what's going to be important now is for the police and the implementation of the laws based on the legislation. In times past, we did not have smartphones that would have allowed somebody to instantaneously check the decibel level of a particular area or entertainment area or activity. But under the legislation, the police will now have the authority and the app on their phones to actually indicate that based on the legislation that you are over 100 decibels, which puts you in conflict with the law, and they can shut you down. So the implementation thereafter is going to be very important. And obviously with the legislation, when we have those competitions, we will have to ensure that it is done in an environment that is temporary and that it does not inconvenience the neighbors as we speak.
Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon.
Moving to sports a bit, where are we with the swimming pool, the Olympic-sized swimming pool?
Okay, so the swimming pool, we've had to make some decisions as it pertains to the contractor and some of the arrangements with that pool. The time span for the completion of that pool has lapsed, and so we are in the process of making adjustments to ensure that we can complete it at the earliest. It is perhaps the most difficult projects I've overseen since becoming Minister of Sport, but it is one that we're expecting that very soon, once we've identified some of the issues and some of the factors that have stalled the program. Once we've weeded this out, we should see a smooth sailing towards completion of that stadium, and we're certainly hoping that we have it complete by the end of 2027.
In a similar vein, we've had the long, drawn-out conversation about our young people, or our people in general, living on an island and not knowing how to swim, with the associations calling for programs in school. Of course, when there's a drowning, we make noise and then it goes away. Are we having any serious conversations about implementing swimming programs in our schools?
Yes, so that would go back to your first question. So I'd understand the wisdom behind you asking those questions back to back. Part of the Learn to Swim program, the National Aquatic Center would be a huge part of how we actually control and institute that program. When you're dealing with kids and you're dealing with swimming, there's a lot of sensitivity with which you must approach this. As a parent, you would definitely want to know that there's a controlled environment that is safe for the child to learn to swim. So we have been having the conversations about the Learn to Swim program, but we only have the Aquatic Center. And we're certainly hoping that once we complete the National Aquatic Center, we did put it in our manifesto, we will have a national Learn to Swim program, and also have the Intersect program on the weekend as well. And so we're expecting that we would see some serious movement once we come to the end of the completion of the actual physical structure of the National Aquatic Center.
Yes. Good.
I just want to say on record, I no longer cover sports as much.
Because I know if you cover sports, these are the questions I will get from you.
But I'll ask one question. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, there seems to have been some sort of model that has happened between some of our athletes and the University of Texas in the United States, with one being Julian Alfred, then you have Naomi London, and next up we have JD Emmanuel. Are there any intentions there to formalize any sort of partnership, working arrangement, working agreement? Because it seems as though that particular university has taken interest in St. Lucian athletes.
You found your form again. Yeah, that is a very interesting question. We've thought about it. We've seen the benefits of doing it that way, but doing it that way may mean that you pretty much alienate thousands of universities that may want to eventually offer us even better programs for our sprinters. And that is why I said earlier, we've been having conversations with certain institutions, including, I will just mention one, Syracuse University, who has been looking at St. Lucia closely and looking at the talent available in St. Lucia and wanting to have conversations with the minister and the ministry for programs similar to what you are recommending, so as to have sort of a monopoly on our talent. But as a minister, I cannot encourage any form of monopoly in any way, shape, or form. So we have to keep it as open as possible to universities all over the U.S. that may decide that they may offer us even better terms and conditions for our athletes.
All right. So, on right. That's it. You know.
Keep it.
You like it? Thank you.
Right.